Ever since Bardock's release a year and a half ago, he's been considered a top-tier character, and although he gets some of his strongest tools nerfed every version, his other tools improve to compensate. Or, people just find new ways to do virtually the same things that we thought were removed before. Bardock's a simple character, with simple strengths. He's one of the best examples of a character that just plays the game they're in so well on a fundamental level that they will probably always be strong no matter what is changed about them. He doesn't have command grabs, or cross-ups, or built-in 50/50s into every block string, but he's so solid in general that as people continue to improve at the game itself, he will improve along with them. Here's a quick overview of his strengths. His pros: he has high average damage, fantastic sparking damage, great meter gain, low 2L, great normals, great neutral. He has the infamous Lariat, which is useful in many situations, especially for bullying his way in. He has an excellent auto combo, excellent stagger pressure. He can snap all by himself. He has his infamous Fuzzies, and he has a flexible, easy-to-use assist, which is part of why he has such good synergy with most characters. Now, on to his weaknesses. Being a jack-of-all-trades character, he doesn't have many weaknesses, but he doesn't have a beam property move, he doesn't have spammable key blasts, and he has very simple mix-up options. Let's get started talking about his neutral. He has good buttons all around. With the exception of maybe his auto combo, none of his buttons are clearly the best version of that tool in the game, but he has a button for pretty much everything you'd ever want. His 5L is large and hits high enough to be useful after blocking Superdash. His 2H is pretty big and has great cancel options. His jump M is huge and great for air-to-airing opponents. Just be careful not to throw this out preemptively too much. Since it has such long recovery, your opponents can whiff punish it pretty easily. Even his jump L, which isn't the largest, is still surprisingly good at times, even being useful for reacting to Superdash. His key blasts aren't spammable, but they're still strong options, and since they're cancelable into Lariat, they have more utility than most single-hit key blasts. Speaking of Lariat, he has 3 versions of them, and they're all good at their own things. His normal light Lariat has high priority and doubles as a strong movement option. This is particularly useful for escaping the corner. Someone who's looking to punish this can back off and wait for it to whiff above them, but to do this, they have to give up the corner, which could be considered a win for the Bardock player if they don't commit to the Lariat. Light Lariat is also useful for bullying your way in. If you think you can get them to block it, then go for it. Call your assist and take your turn. This is most often used by people at round start, but I would advise against doing this too much, since there are some low-risk options to call it out. Universally, your opponent can round start, instant air dash back, and then fall with a button for a full combo. Medium Lariat is also very strong. It's one of the only tools in the game that hits at the upward angle that it does without being unsafe on block. This makes it useful as a preemptive anti-air and as a meaty to cover both up and down tech in the corner. If you watch Winners Finals and Grand Finals from EVO this year, Sonic Fox makes excellent use of this tool as a way of locking down his opponents who are trying to stay airborne. Medium Lariat, and call your assist. If it's blocked, then take your turn. If it hits, then convert for a combo. If your assist lets you combo without touching the ground after, you will have a sliding knockdown available with Jump H. Otherwise, you can always combo into Light Lariat and vanish. The air version of Lariat can be useful for navigating neutral as well, but it has noticeably more recovery and feels easier to punish than Light Lariat, so be careful. It's particularly useful for corner combos, bouncing the opponent as high as necessary to continue the combo. This is what allows Bardock to set up snap loops all by himself. EX Lariat is amazing as well. It goes farther than Light Lariat and gets an extension on hit if you press H again. Unlike Light Lariat, EX Lariat can jail into vanish on block, and is commonly used this way when Bardock players have meter to burn. Canceling Key Blast into EX Lariat is fantastic for this, since you won't be wasting any meter if the Key Blast doesn't make contact. On hit, it combos, and on block, it frame traps. The opponent does have some options to beat it though. They can gamble a reflect after blocking the Key Blast. If they commit to EX Lariat and vanish, then they can get a punish with 2H. However, if Bardock doesn't cancel the Key Blast, then the reflect can get whiff punished. Use this sparingly when you have a read on your opponent's habits. If you're full screen when you block the Key Blast, then you can actually backdash the EX Lariat to make it whiff for an even better punish. This is a bit tricky to do though, and loses if they simply Key Blast a second time. Pick whichever answer you prefer, but don't autopilot it too much. Bardock also has a quarter circle back L, M, and H. These mixers are overheads, but they're so slow that they're rarely used for that purpose. They're also not very useful in neutral. Primarily, these are used to extend pressure with an assist while getting good corner carry, and even more so, they're used for knockdown. Light mixer combos from anywhere on the screen. In the corner, it's a pretty good knockdown, but mid-screen, it knocks the opponent too far away to get a good meaty. Medium mixer is a real sliding knockdown, but only works in the corner. If a combo is too long, this won't work even in the corner, so you'll have to use light mixer instead. From mid-screen launches, you can simply use jump H instead, or the sliding knockdown. If you can combo into the grounded version of medium mixer, then you can get a sliding knockdown with it mid-screen. EX mixer gives a sliding knockdown anywhere on the screen, but isn't used too often anyway. If you can use your assist to make it to the corner and save your meter, then that is almost always better. Really quick, let's talk about his auto combo, the most memed on part of his kit. It's strong, really strong. 5L is big enough to hit at a good range of spacings and heights, and the second hit of his auto combo consistently brings them back down. Even if both hits miss, the third hit can be useful as a last-ditch attempt to anti-air the opponent. This seems so strong that you might think he should always use it when he's close, but there are some predictable situations where it is guaranteed to fail. First, after blocking Superdash, auto combo is great, but if the opponent neutral jumps after, they can whiff punish you. Even if you commit to swinging with the third hit, you'll always go the wrong way. Another time you might not want to do this is when you think you'll get reflected. Whiffing the second hit is an easy punish for the opponent. Choosing a reflect-proof string, or one that recovers quicker like 5L into 2L, might be better here. I'm definitely not saying that it's even remotely bad, but I am saying to be somewhat mindful of situations where you notice it consistently failing. In general, Bardock's auto combo gives people the confidence to commit when they think they can call something out, and that's where its true strength lies. Now on to offense. Bardock's offense is best described as simple but effective. He has very few unique mix-up tools, and he almost entirely relies on universal options to open up his opponents, such as Dragon Rush. If you watched EVO this year, you know that Bardock with Kid Buu Assist is insane, but since that has so much more to do with Kid Buu than it has to do with Bardock, I'm not going to include that here. Before we talk about mix-up itself, I want to quickly talk about Bardock's stagger pressure. This is arguably his biggest strength on offense. He can frame trap in so many points in a single block string that he's able to discourage the opponent from trying to mash. Once you've shown that your frame traps are tight, you can start resetting your pressure and getting your assist back. Any point where you could frame trap, you could choose to simply stop and gamble starting your block string over again with another 5L. Be sure to mix up when you choose to do this, and back it up by frame trapping most other times. Bardock is one of the few characters in the game with a meterless plus on block special move, his quarter circle forward S. Since this can be hit by well-timed mashing, be sure not to be predictable with this when you use it. If your opponent is looking for it, they can simply reflect it on reaction and punish you with a far move like a Key Blast. However, Bardock can hold this special long enough to bait out the reflect. This is getting into some Galaxy Brain player versus player specific stuff, but if you know for sure that your opponent is looking to react with reflect, then it can be useful. If you're staggering a lot and mashing proves unsuccessful for the opponent, they might start reflecting instead. Bardock has a few solid reflect-proof options on offense as well. If you're point blank, then 2L into 5M will stay in if the 2L is reflected, and at nearly any point where you want to frame trap and stay in if reflected, you can simply cancel that frame trap into Key Blast or Lariat. I know that 6M overheads are universal tools that are +0 on block, but it's worth mentioning with Bardock since his clash situation is quite strong. If you think you'll clash with another character's 6-frame 5L, then you can cancel into another one by hitting 4L, and if that clashes, then you cancel into his medium Lariat, beating most clash options in the game. If you've ever watched Goichi and Fenrich play each other, then you're familiar with seeing this. In the future, I'll be covering the clash mechanic in greater detail in its own video. Okay, Now that we know why Bardock's stagger pressure is good, let's talk about his actual mix-up. Mid-screen, he has left-right mix-up as an option, but since his jump M doesn't angle downwards and his jump L is so small, it can be difficult to make the instant air dash mix-up connect. You can get around this by spacing yourself further away when you go for the instant air dash. Assists that push the opponent away are particularly useful here. If you'll barely sneak past them for the cross-up, use jump L. You can cancel your air normal into jump back S to potentially save yourself from being 2H'd. If their 2H is late enough, your air normal will miss, you'll land, and then you'll get back S on the ground instead, which turns into reflect. You can still get 2H'd if the opponent is early enough, but this will definitely save you occasionally. And of course, when going for left-right mix-up, don't forget to go for the same side super dash sometimes, even if it has less reward. Bardock's medium lariat is useful for setting up high-low mix-up with an assist, air dash before landing for high, or just land and go low. The problem with this is that he has so much landing recovery attached to the medium lariat that the opponent can block both the high and the low consistently. All they have to do is block high by default, and switch to low slightly later than normal. This landing recovery seemed like a huge nerf to Bardock, until stronger players realized that he can simply just super dash plus assist to set up the same high-low 50-50, without the problem of having that landing recovery. Bardock's instant air dash mix-up can be tricky in the corner too, since he can whiff a jump M and go low, or double overhead with a slightly delayed jump M into jump L. Don't forget about Dragon Rush and 6M here as well. Now let's talk about snap mix-up and fuzzies. After snapping, the goal is to hit meaty with instant air dash jump L, jump M. This sets up the fuzzy mix-up, while also making most reversals miss. But what if they take the hit? Won't they get out? You prevent this from happening by using instant air dash jump L and then jump L plus jump M at the same time this time. On hit, you get the auto combo. On block, you get the jump M. Timing the instant air dash jump L can be tough if you snap in the air, but I know you'll get it with practice. If you snapped on the ground, you can time it perfectly every time by whiffing a 5L as soon as possible, and then doing the instant air dash as soon as possible. If a Bardock doesn't seem to be landing the instant air dash jump L properly, consistently, then there's no risk in attempting to jump back on incoming to avoid the situation. Bardock players need to practice this meaty until it's airtight. Bardock's fuzzy overhead works on nearly half of the cast and is always a strong option if your opponent's characters allow for it. Don't forget to go low sometimes with 2M, as the reward is massive. For this reason, many players commit to always blocking low. No one wants to get TOD'd early in a match. Bardock can also use the fuzzy without snapping by simply doing an instant air dash jump M or jump H first. You need the jump M or jump H to hit as late as possible without missing though, and it will definitely take a lot of practice. I can count the number of players who do this consistently on a single hand. Bardock has a universal fuzzy overhead that is slightly weaker and requires an assist. The goal is to time your assist so it keeps the opponent airborne as Bardock lands. This forces the opponent to be standing even if they are blocking low. And Bardock can do a very fast instant air dash jump L for a full combo. Although this isn't using a rising normal, it is still considered a fuzzy since it's taking advantage of forced standing block stun. Goichi does this a lot, and the results speak for themselves. Let's talk about Bardock's supers real quick. A really great thing about Bardock is that all of his supers are available on the ground and in the air. His Lariat super, performed with quarter circle forward H+S, is invincible frame 1, making it a consistent option against super dash while airborne. Level 3 is better if you have the meter to spend, since it does more damage and gives you a true hard knockdown, but having a 1-bar option is pretty nice. I want to note that even though his level 1 is invincible, it's not great as a reversal. Unless they committed to a special move, the opponent can always save themselves with a vanish for just 1 bar. His Orb super, performed with quarter circle forward L and M, deals slightly more unscaled damage, but it isn't invincible. He can double super by himself to add some extra damage for another bar. Note that this actually only adds about half of a normal super's worth of damage, but it is frequently the difference between KOing a character or not. His level 3 knockdown isn't quite the best anymore, being about as average as level 3 knockdown can get. And since he doesn't have many unique mix-up options, it's not great for setting up mix-up either. It's still pretty solid though, setting up an instant air dash into high, low, or dragon rush. You can use an assist to lock the opponent down long enough to set up a real 50-50 high-low. Just keep in mind that your assists won't be available if you swapped into Bardock's level 3. Now let's talk about his assists real quick. It's about as simple as an assist gets, but that's why it's strong. It's pretty quick, so it can be used in a wide variety of situations on the fly. It has solid block stun, so it's useful for setting up mix-up with most characters, and it has enough hit stun to allow most characters to extend combos with it. It's pretty simple, and somewhat boring to even talk about, but its simplicity and flexibility is what makes it strong, and makes it useful for so many teams. What about team synergy? One of the reasons why Bardock is considered so strong is because he benefits from so many characters, and so many of those characters can make use of his assist. You can honestly throw him on most teams and have it work out fine. But do you have to play Bardock? Absolutely not. But if you're simply someone who likes the game and wants to have all the tools to play it well, or you have 2 characters picked out and just can't decide on a third one, then he could be the choice for you. This guide ended up being a lot longer than I expected for such a simple character, but that's okay. I really hope this helped you improve your Bardock or learn how to deal with him better. I've been asked a lot about if I'll be covering Gogeta, who should be coming out around the same time this video goes live. Yes, I will be covering him. Just be patient. I refuse to sacrifice quality just to get a video out as soon as possible. I actually enjoy making videos like this, so just, give me the time to do that properly. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with more soon.